What's up, y'all? And welcome back to the Magnanimous Collective. I'm your host, Sean Kubota. Let's start it off with a deep breath into the belly. And let it go. Another deep breath. And let it go. Last one. Sip in a little more. And sigh it out. Oh yeah, dropped in. We did 3 today because, ooh boy, do we have a lot to talk about. Sheesh manish, okay? Wow. Trump was just shot last Saturday. He got his ear shut off, or part of it grazed or something like that, which is fucking nuts. Dude just tilted his head and last minute and did not, get his brain splattered. All that being said, prayers up to the families of the people who did pass away, who were at that rally. Prayers go out to them. And it's a tragedy. Amidst Trump not being killed, there were still tragedies that existed, and we have to recognize and honor those families. So they're grieving right now, and that's real, and that's happening. But let's talk about this. Trump got shot, right? What does that mean? Well, it means a lot of things. For one, let me just say, for one, I'm surprised it didn't happen sooner. Just the way that people have been acting, the level of incited types of violence, or at least violent thought or speech that has happened against him, I'm surprised it didn't happen sooner. But what does it mean that he got shot and didn't die? This is something big right here, because there are a lot of people right now who are upset that he's not dead. Hate Trump, disagree with him. The fact that you want someone to die or you're upset that they didn't get shot, maybe an opportunity to look at yourself. Maybe an opportunity to reflect on, why do you hate this person so much? And I'm going to project, but from what I've seen and what those narratives are, it's like, oh, this person is racist. This person is a white, rich person or whatever. Like, he hates gays or this or that or whatever. There's all that there, right? What I'd encourage you to do is, I'm not saying whether or not some of those things are true. I'd encourage you to go find it out. Find it out through the policies that he made. Find it out through more than just what the mainstream narrative has told you or what other people say and the groupthink that you may experience, because that's going to be a big topic of today, is the groupthink and the colluded narrative that's been spun by mainstream media that has had people up in arms for, I don't know, the past, 5 years now, over this whole Trump thing, 5-6 years, right? But what does it mean that the bullet didn't fully kill him? Because that, if he didn't move his head at that time, he totally would have died, right? So whether you believe in God, whether you believe in fate, whether you believe that things are either things happen for a reason, if things happen for a reason, if there is God, if everything that is brought to you to this standpoint where you're at right now, whether you're in a misery story or whether you're in a good place, in either case, you've experienced triumph and you've experienced failure, and you've experienced this up and down within your life where at moments of tragedy, at moments of despair, it's easy to go to that place of like, oh, nothing's ever going to get better again. Surprise, it does. So if everything happens for a reason, Trump didn't get shot for a reason. You could be like, oh, everything's against me. Oh man, everything's just bad. And it's like, hold on. We're deviating from that. So either we are godless, either we're lostless, either we're basically seeing everything as a curse, or we're seeing everything as a blessing, right? So how can you see the blessing in him not getting shot? Might be a hard pill for some people to swallow, it was a hard pill for me to swallow that chemtrails and that people wearing plastic clothes and that fucking people, who were trying to make free energy devices or clean energy devices were killed and blah, 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 to see that as a divine plan, to see that as something that there is a silver lining there that maybe I'm not seeing. It takes humility to get there, right? It takes the willingness to not be arrogant, which is humility, but it also takes the ability to potentially be wrong, but to have more openness that maybe you don't know the fullness of the situation. And I'm not trying to say that you don't. So the reason why we took three breaths is to get us to the emotionally regulated space where we can have this conversation. So if you're starting to get triggered right now, or if some of this is too much for you, you can totally turn it off. But what I would invite you to do is to remind yourself and take a moment to breathe. So let's all take a deep breath in here and let it go. For one, you're safe. Two, you are solely, as a sovereign, powerful, divine being, you are in charge of your emotional regulation and the way that you perceive and respond to your reality, which pretty much is emotional regulation. No one can make you feel anything, and you're the only one that can process your anger, your grief, your sadness, and all these things, and it's up to you to do so responsibly. Not anyone else. It's not for anyone else to modify their reality so that they can tiptoe around your emotional instability, right? So with that being said, how can this event that has transpired be something that allows for good things to come, right? Does that mean that Trump has to win and everything goes well? Hell no, it doesn't. Does it mean that Biden wins? Does it mean that RFK wins? I don't know what it means, but what I do know is that it's opened up a pathway for us to take a step back and look at this. It's brought us to this space of violence for us to be like, whoa, hold on a second. Everybody chill the fuck out. Now you could say, oh, well, the Trump people are getting up in arms and they're super patriotic. And oh, now I'm all scared. It's like, what are you doing? What are you doing to show up in a space of leadership outside of you being emotionally unregulated and being like, oh, things are unfair and everything's against me, blah, blah. How are you showing up in a way that can provide any semblance of leadership, any semblance of honor and responsibility that can then supersede the type of misaligned leadership that you're seeing out in the world? I don't care if it's Trump, RFK, Biden, whoever the fuck. Like, none of these candidates, if you want my honest opinion, I would much rather have younger candidates. I would much rather have candidates they don't even have to be people of color. I'd rather it be an open race of individuals over the age of 35 or whatever to be able to run for president and have it be a fair potentiality and not just like, oh, we have to pick from these, what we got, right? And at the end of the day, this whole entire assassination attempt that has happened. And for some of us, and a lot of us, it's the first assassination attempt we've ever experienced in our life. This for me. This is giving us the opportunity to step up. It's giving us the opportunity to recognize like, oh shit. Wow, this is real. This is where we're at, right? For those of us who wanted it to happen, like, oh wow, that's actually a reflection of like, wait, how am I thinking right now? How am I losing my humanity? Why do I hate this person so much? Let's get curious about things. The first step to emotional regulation, as my brother Kai said, is to be curious. So if you're getting upset, if you're getting triggered about who this person is and what they, resemble or you identify them as or with, it's time to look at that, right? For one, whether or not you're on the right or whether you're on the left, to be honest, most likely you have a lot in common with each other, right? I have a lot of clients who are left-leaning. I have a lot of clients who are right-leaning. I ask them about policies. A lot of them agree. And some of them will say, well, oh, those are on the extreme side. I'm like, yeah, well, it sounds like most of you are pretty fucking centrist. But some of what I'll say is that a lot of the people on the left don't like a lot of the policies on the left, but the only reason they're on the left is because they hate Trump so much and they follow that narrative. A lot of the people on the right are for Trump because they hate the policies that are on the left. So it's like, It's like two people drinking specific drinks. It's like, oh, I like this branding, but the drink is shit, so I'm going to drink this. And the people over here are drinking this drink that tastes good, but they hate the branding. It's like, why don't we just get a fucking great drink with great branding? Like, honestly, it doesn't make any fucking sense in my opinion. But with all that to be said, it is important for us to see where we're at now. A public figure that is of high controversy, is highly beloved and highly hated, almost got assassinated. That's where we're at. And what we can garner from that and where we can go forward from that is, once again, the reflection upon ourselves. And those of us who feel called to show up in a space of leadership to embody what leadership can be. Because for us to sit around and complain, for us to put the responsibility on others when we're literally doing nothing about it ourselves, it's out of integrity. It's just you're wrong. You're not doing the thing. You can be like, oh, well, I'm fighting the good fight. I'm going to these rallies and stuff like that. I'm being angry at rallies. Fucking dumb, dude. Sorry. It's fucking dumb. I was there. I can say it because I've been there. It's dumb. It's not your full source of your power. That's for damn sure. It's a space for you to release your anger and frustration because you're not showing up in all the ways that you could. It by not being an entrepreneur that makes a way for yourself, that creates the power and the recognition to allow for you to impose change in the world. That's why that's why people are so angry. Right? That's why people are emotionally unregulated. We also don't have the tools. None of the tools are built into the fabric of society for you to understand what a projection is, to understand how to do a charge clearing within everything, to understand how to grieve and how to release, and for society to have spaces where we actually have that facilitated so that people can grieve and release through verbal expression and get stuff out, and then come to a space where they can align themselves and actually know how to, with specific language, know how to process their emotions and to understand what a projection is, so that when someone is talking about something, they can own the story they're having about another person instead of just assuming and then creating this defensiveness and then trying to create this attacking system within their conversations or dialogues, right? And what does that look like? Some people might not know what the fuck I'm talking about. A projection is an assumption about someone that is a story that you've created based on maybe something they've said or by how they are, how you are perceiving them. And you assuming it without asking them whether or not it's true. And then not being humble enough after asking them to either surrender it as your own story or to have it be confirmed. The point is, though, you say, hey, look, this is my projection. May or may not be true. This is what I'm seeing. Clarify, I might be wrong. That takes humility. It also takes awareness that you are creating stories about literally everything. As a sovereign being, you have the ultimate power of creation and destruction. You're all of it, right? And in that, you have the capacity to perceive and respond to your reality, which ultimately creates your reality. Now, some of you might be seeing the things I post where it says create your reality. It's like, this guy thinks he's like, oh, I create everything around me. No, it's fucking dumb. But what you do is perceive everything the way that you want to through your lens and value system and how you choose to believe things about yourself and everything and the world and da-da-da. And then you choose to respond to it appropriately based through that lens and through that filter. And from that dictates your reality, because based on how you show up in the world and everything around you, based on how you respond to it, it's going to respond to you back. And so in essence, you are creating your reality through that. But you can't just be like, glass of orange juice. No, that doesn't happen, right? Do you understand my point? And now when it comes to the space of being sovereign and having this power of creation and destruction, you're all of that. That also means that you're the parts that you don't want to see, right? It means that you're the parts that maybe fucking rub you the wrong way, right? It doesn't mean they're not in you. Just because you're not doing the things does not mean that you don't have the capacity to do or be them. So just because Trump or Biden or whoever it is doing a specific thing or being a specific way does not mean that you don't have the capacity to be that. So if you don't agree with that, that's totally fine. As a sovereign being, you have the freedom of choice, the freedom of expression, the freedom to protect yourself and to love yourself and to believe whatever you believe. The threshold, the boundary, is when you try to impose your beliefs, freedoms, thoughts, opinions, and cross the line of physical protection and harm onto someone else. And then there are consequences for that. Right now, we're having loose consequences for things like that, and that's why shit is so messy. And we also don't have the honoring of each other's sovereignty, each other's freedoms. And when you start to do that, things get messy because then you start to infringe on people's inherent sovereignty and it gets fucked up. These are universal laws here, right? Okay? So when it comes to telling someone what or what they cannot do with their body, you can't do that, right? People are going to do what they want regardless. So are you going to endanger them by them doing shit themselves? Like, for instance, women and abortion. Like, I don't want people to have abortions, but they're going to do them regardless of whether you make them legal or not. So are you going to endanger women, right? Are you going to ask me, is abortion murder? Yes, it's fucking murder. And they're going to do it regardless. Now, here's the caveat. Here's where you come back into the space of sovereignty. Well, who pays for it? It's definitely not everyone who's paying for everyone to get abortions. That's the difference. So if you're going to make it so that taxpayers aren't paying for everyone to get free abortions, okay, now we're back in the game of sovereignty. So you can't just say, oh, abortions are legal, and also the government, aka the citizens, pay for it, when there's people of certain religious backgrounds who do not support abortion. Fine, don't support it. You don't have to, and none of your money, none of your energy is going towards that because that's an ideological belief that does not fit with you. Cool. That means that there's opportunities for, what that means is there's the opportunity for private programs to be able to fund abortions for women who maybe don't have the means. Right? So if you want to donate to that, you can donate to that. But the point is, ultimately, it's your sovereign choice and responsibility to do what you want, and there are consequences for it. And the consequence should be that if you are going to get an abortion, you pay for it. And you can be like, oh, what about these people? Blah, blah. Once again, if we don't have consequences for things, then we don't have the pushback of responsibility. Because if there's no consequences, we don't need to care about responsibility. And if we don't have a responsibility, we're not living in the 3D world and we're not honoring the sovereignty of all people, right? So we just talked about something that's kind of more on the right-wing side of things with abortion, right? On the other side, on the left, you have things when it comes to children and children being able to go behind their parents' backs and get hormone therapy without their consent or permission. Whoa, okay. And I've talked to some of my left-leaning clients, and they're like, yeah, I don't agree with that either. But that's just kind of like a social issue. It's like, no, that's a solely left issue that would completely not exist in a right administration. And that's another reason why a lot of people from the conscious space have completely left the left, because of the fact that there is the hypersexualization of children going on. Now, if a child, there's been transgender or two-spirit people throughout all of time, right? So I have trans friends, I have gay friends, bi friends, whatever. Who you are is what matters. If you're funny, if you're funny and loving, I love you. That's it, right? But when it comes to taking away the power of the parent and putting that in the place of the government, no, sorry. That is a sacred bond here. Now, if there is the capacity for the child and the family to have that relationship where then they want to transition, like, okay, hey, that's a sovereign choice for that space. That's for that party to be a part of. But when you try to take away the rights of all parents, that's a problem, right? When you try to enforce speech, now we didn't get there. Canada got there with enforcing pronouns, right? Once again, you cannot modify everyone else's reality in order to have them tiptoe around your emotional instability. That's not sovereignty. That's not respecting other sovereignty. That's literally the opposite of equality. It's also the opposite of freedom of speech. It's actually enforced speech, which is one of the most dangerous things you can do, because when you start to create speech as a governmental structure of what you can say and what you must say, then you start to lose freedom. And people don't know that. And they're like, oh, well, it's for a good thing. That doesn't matter. That's you still don't want to. What you want to have within a society and within a government is you want to have the capacity to be safe. You want to uphold specific laws. And those should be universal laws of sovereignty, in my wholesome opinion. They should be ones that honor and respect each other and don't bypass and don't infringe on other people's freedoms. Like, fuck, like, it's just fair. Just be fucking fair, right? That's my goal and my aim, and that's what I feel like we should be working towards. And this whole entire, like, shot towards Trump is an opportunity for those of us who are hopefully seeing clearly, or clearly enough to not be in the guise of the, brainwash mainstream agenda, to be so sucked into, oh yes, the groupthink, I agree with everything that everyone else agrees on the news. And also not a radical, religious person on the right who is just like, yeah, fucking, get rid of the illegals and da-da-da. Like, there is not really a soul space for us. And when I say us, I mean people like me. You can try to categorize me on the right. You can try to categorize me on the left. I don't care. That's you projecting onto me. There is no space necessarily. If there was a space, it would be called the sovereign. Not even libertarian. It would be called the sovereign, because libertarians, I don't agree with everything they agree with, but it would be called the sovereign. These are universal laws and principles of the divinity of who you and I are and all beings are. And it's a mutual respect of not only your humanity, but the divinity that lies within you of a conscious being and the magnitude of what and who you are as a child of Creator. Boom, mic drop. That's it, okay? So you guys can keep playing into this, or you can recognize that multi-billion-dollar media corporations have fed you a specific narrative that has led you potentially to believe things that, surprise, everyone agrees with. Like, when did people just start blindly listening to the news? I guess most people have, but like, gosh, some people are so smart and yet they're so fucking dumb. I'm sorry. Some people are just so brainwashed that they don't realize that these giant media corporations that spend billions of dollars to put out messaging are putting out messaging that you then agree with, and you think that you're thinking for yourself, and you think you're thinking the progressive thing, the thing that, like, for whatever reason is going towards evolved change. Like, you realize who owns these media corporations, right? Like, do you think that these Rothschild's factory schools have helped you to become a successful entrepreneur and someone who becomes financially free? No. The most financially free people didn't do good at school. The fuck, dude? Think for yourself, right? And I'm not trying to, maybe I'm coming off a little harsh right now, and I apologize for that. But I'm just being genuine with the sense of, like, this is the reality of it, Like, our school system has been led to indoctrinate towards the left, like, whether it's in schools and now and has been in colleges. Have you not asked yourself why? Is it really because it's the right thing to do, or it's because they just have it all together? If the schools were rooting for a political side that was revolutionary and the media was rooting for a different side, I'd say, oh man, our education is actually onto something. But the education and the media are all the same. How do you not see that there is an agenda that goes beyond what is beneficial to you? Like, what? Do you feel like Big Papa media, who are owned by the financial elite, who also run your Federal Reserve, who also are the reason for your inflation and why your economy is the way it is, you really think that they have the best interest for you to rise up and be free? Am I in fucking crazy town? You're making me spit, man. Come on. Like, no. And that's okay. And we don't need to get freaked out like, oh my God, what are we going to do? It's all good. God's got your back. Spirit's got your back. Creator's got your back. Ancestors got your back. How we move forward in this is we choose to see through the lies. We choose to emotionally regulate ourselves. We choose to come to a space of magnanimity, right? We become magnanimous individuals, a magnanimous collective. We choose to forgive and be generous in the face of a rival and an enemy, right? We don't choose to be like, oh, you enslaved us. Oh, you fucking, put us down and put us in concentration camps. You bombed our places, blah, blah. We become bigger. We become stronger. We become smarter. We become empowered, and we become leaders. And we don't even have to dominate or usurp or run a coup. By nature, we come forward in a better way. And things will align towards that because the truth will always, the light will dominate, right? So, I'm just going to check my notes here. Yeah, I pretty much said all that. So one of the things I want to touch on a little bit deeper, and I talked about this in my first book, Victim or Hero, which I'm currently doing a revision on right now. But it's about shadow. It's about owning the capacity of the divine self. It's the understanding that you are everything. Just because you're not being everything does not mean that you don't have the capacity to be everything, right? The fact that you have the capacity means that you are it. So sovereignty means to wield ultimate power of creation and destruction, right? Or to wield ultimate power, which is that, creation and destruction, and everything in between. So what that means is that you can heal a nation. You could be Gandhi. You could be Hitler. Or you could literally be an ultra Gandhi or an ultra Hitler, whatever the fuck your imagination can create. You can become horrid and kill puppies and club seals. And you can also heal people of cancer. You could do amazing things, amazingly gruesome and amazingly beautiful. That's you. When we start to have a split in ourselves is when we start to deny parts of who we are because they maybe feel gross. They maybe hurt us. They may feel like, oh no, I can never be that. No, I have to be good. You are. You're also kind of fucked up. And that's okay. Because you have discernment. Bible calls it free will. You have discernment, the ability to choose, the ability to create your reality, to perceive it, and then respond to it accordingly. There are also consequences. Hallelujah that there are consequences, because without consequences, we don't have appropriate recognition to not cross specific boundaries. There's a reason why people love playing video games like GTA and all these things, because they're just like, yeah, I can just fucking kill people or steal cars or whatever, because it's kind of fun, because there's no consequences. In the realm of unlimited potentiality of creation that we exist from, all feelings, everything can be felt at any time or is felt at every single moment of time. And in these bodies, we have the option, we have the blessing of being able to feel limitation within the ultimate capacity that we're able to dive into, right? And yet there are consequences there. And that's a beautiful thing. Just because you are not experiencing the things that you don't want to feel, or you see someone like, let's say Trump, for instance, that is being this way. Let's say you don't like his hair, or you don't like the way that he talks, or you don't like the way that he is, or the things that he's done. You're totally entitled to feel that way. However, when we get to this space of emotional unregulation where we're just like, oh, fuck, I hate him. I could never be that. Oh, he's a piece of shit. Are you really that much better? Maybe by your choices, you're being that much better. Maybe you're not. But the point is that at some level, you are those things. Now I want to talk about something that I have in my first book, Victim or Hero, written in 2019, which is currently being revised. So be on the lookout. It's about our capacity of being inherently worthy, as well as being a child of the divine, meaning that you have everything in you. You have the capacity to be everything. You could be Gandhi, you could be Hitler. You could choose to club baby seals and kill puppies. You could heal someone of cancer. You have the ultimate power of creation and destruction, sovereignty. You wield ultimate power, right? But a lot of people are walking around with their arms in a straitjacket. Like, I'm empowered. I'm empowered. Look, I'm not those things. I'm not that shadow thing. Look at how good I am, right? Take your hand behind your back, dude. No, you are these things. All the things that you don't like, whether it's the people on the left or the people on the right, or whether it's Trump or Biden, whoever it is, all the things that you don't like about that person, at a certain level, you are those things. Just because you have the discernment and the free will and you are choosing to not do those things, which is literally what you are, your amalgamation of all of the choices that you've made, that's literally what you are, right? It's not just your name and your body, it's your choices. Just because you haven't chosen those things doesn't mean that you don't have the capacity to. And because you have the capacity to, that means that you at a level are those things. Whether or not you choose to ever do them in this lifetime or even consider them, you have the capacity to, which allows for you to still be attached to them. And the more that you deny that, the more that you actually repress a certain fullness of yourself, right? And a certain fullness that potentially allows for you to be in terms and wholeness and balance and peace within yourself. Like, boom, mic drop, right? So one practice that is in the book that I got from Gerald Rogers through Live Big, which was fantastic exercise. It's a shadow exercise where you get two people, and you could practice this at home with your partner, with your friend, with your mom and dad, whoever else. 2 pieces of paper, boom. Write down 4 people that you hate, that you abhor, that you absolutely are just like, ugh, hate their guts. Write down 2 or 3 attributes about the people, right? Switch papers. Read the attributes, but say, Sean, you are blank. For me, it was, Sean, you're a womanizer. Sean, you're a dishonorable man. Sean, you're weak, or whatever it was, right? And after each one, I'd have to say, thank you, I know. Thank you, I know. And we did it for like, I don't know, minutes. It was like, fuck, dude. And it was really upsetting to me. I was really angry. I was getting pissed off. And when it was time for me to do it to my partner, who was this older lady, she started bawling. It's hard for us to come to terms with embracing the shadow aspects of ourselves because we repress them, right? Like we've repressed it. In this common day and age, we aren't really connected to that. And everyone's kind of living this fake life. They're not fully attached to their power because they're also not fully attached to their darkness, to their shadow. That doesn't mean you ever got to like act necessarily on or from that place of that shadow. It doesn't mean you have to become those things. That's not what I'm saying, so don't get it twisted. What I am saying is at a level, you have to accept the fact that you are that in order for you to be free. And if you're not free, you're always going to be emotionally unregulated to a certain extent because you're not willing to fully accept the fullness of who you are. And if you can't accept yourself, then how can you fully love yourself? And if you can't fully love yourself, how can you ever fully be at peace? Right? So throughout all of this, I am not telling you to love Trump. People who love Trump, maybe you love him because of what he represents, but like I think we can all agree that he's not been outside of politics. I don't think he's necessarily been the most integrous person, or maybe the most honorable, or I don't know. I don't like he's. I'll let you come up with your own conclusions. But outside of that, outside of all of that, right? We've just witnessed an assassination of a person. And people are getting killed every day, right? People are getting murdered every day. It's terrible. And at the same time, a person was assassinated today based on their beliefs in a big way in American society. And that's something that is not something we should take lightly. It's something that we need to recognize is a turning point for our country. It's an opportunity for us to step up in a place of leadership, in a place where we can choose to move forward and actually start implementing change outside of just this political system or these figureheads that are polarizing, the nation of people in it. And we can come forward and unite them and actually have them see actually how alike they are and start to bring forward a lens of sovereignty into the picture so that it's not just this banter of you're wrong, we're right, you're wrong, how can you think this way? And based off of figureheads, once again, it comes into the space of what makes sense in a space of sovereignty, what makes sense in a space of love and freedom of expression and not infringing on other people. What is the compromise there? Where can we honor each other's freedoms while not infringing on other people's freedoms, right? If that becomes the ultimate pathway, along with also making sure that we protect the natural world, big one. And correlating and aligning business with aligning with protecting the free world, huge, right? Whew. So yeah, that's where we're at. That is where we're at. And, there's more guest pods coming up. But I felt that it was imperative to make this solo pod today because these things have to be talked about. And regardless of who regardless of who how can't I say that? Regardless of who tunes into this, this is just the beginning. And if you do feel called, if you do feel moved and touched by what's been talked about in this pod, reach out to me because it's the Magnanimous Collective, not the Magnanimous One. And we need you. And this is a movement towards us coming to a space where people start to see each other as other humans and not as their enemies, and learn to forgive their enemies and learn to become generous and forgiving in the face of their enemies and rivals, because that's what being magnanimous is all about, baby. So we'll keep this one short and sweet. I love y'all. I appreciate you. I hope that this landed for you in some capacity, and you know that at the end of the day, what I'm trying to do here, not tell you what to do. It's just reminding you of who you are, how powerful you are, what the universal laws are that govern our freaking divine existence as creators, as consciousness inhabiting these human vessels, right? And if that's too trippy for you, then whatever, but just keep lying to yourself. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you there. It's just the truth. It's just the truth. All that to say, I appreciate y'all. And till next time, I'll see you soon. This has been the Magnanimous Collective with Sean Kubota. See you later. Bye.